What Tyus is going to be able to do is now they have someone
to run
who can
the offense.
to run the offense, get them in their sets, things like that. And there's enough. I mean, there's tons of defense surrounding him. So his faults are like going to be supported by the team. And Phoenix, it was not, at all. And so it didn't work out for him in Phoenix. When in his prior stops before that, he was like a promising guy. It's like, oh man, this is a guy who's one of the best 6-man in the league, and he can start in pinches for you.
Yeah. I mean, he was perceived to be one
Phoenix
of the best
really
backup guards in the league, threatening starters position. I don't like the move though.
Oh, you don't?
I don't at all. I think it's kind of useless because again, you have the investment in Suggs and Bane as basically your starting backcourt.
Yeah.
And then you have Black, who's shown something. I'm not saying he's unreal. And then you just draft Richardson, who's a small guard.
Yes.
And then you sign a veteran small guard.
Yeah.
So, like, what are we even screwing around with Richardson?
So what do you think about Tyus Jones coming to the Magic?
To Orlando? I like that move. The one thing about the Magic, as I said, there's the center and the point guard position, the two weakest positions. And before the Tyus move, they did nothing to address either one of those. Looks like they were going to run it back with Wendell and the thing about their guards is they're good. They're defensive guards. They're really good, right? And I have no use for Wendell. I don't know why they continue to roll that project out at center. But what Tyus is going to be able to do is now they have someone to run the offense, get them in their sets, things like that. And there's enough. I mean, there's tons of defense surrounding him. So his faults are like going to be supported by the team. And Phoenix, it was not, at all. And so it didn't work out for him in Phoenix. When in his prior stops before that, he was like a promising guy. It's like, oh man, this is a guy who's one of the best 6-man in the league, and he can start in pinches for you.
Yeah. I mean, he was perceived to be one of the best
really
backup guards in the league, threatening starters position. I don't like the move though.
Oh, you don't?
I don't at all. I think it's kind of useless because again, you have the investment in Suggs and Bane as basically your starting backcourt.
Yeah.
And then you have Black, who's shown something. I'm not saying he's unreal. And then you just draft Richardson, who's a small guard.
Yes.
And then you sign a veteran small guard.
Yeah.
So, like, what are we even screwing around with Richardson? Maybe you should have rolled the dice with a big then if this is what you're thinking. Or why sign Jones? Allocate whatever you can to finding another big.
Yeah.
To me, the move doesn't do anything. It doesn't serve an immediate purpose. There's teams that Tyus Jones is a good player. There's teams he can help in this league. I just think he does not have a clear role with a team like the Magic.
I'm not mad at that take. I'm just taking the other side of it. Yeah. I think he will do it because Chase is not going to be ready right now.
He's not ready.
He's not going to be ready.
But what you're doing is you're like, what do we even say?
He's not going to get on the court.
He's potentially the fourth guard there, and now you're basically putting him in a no development role.
Yeah.
Which why bother taking?
But I want Suggs off the ball a little more. Now I know you're like, there's only 5 people on the court, so what are you doing? I understand that, but like I don't like Suggs running the offense. Now his shot has gotten better, so he can like serve a purpose on the court as far as when he doesn't have the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
But then it's like you're still running the Apollo. Heavy centric. I don't know.
But the reality is that's not going to change. That's who Paulo is.
Yeah, that's not going to change.
He's going to suck up a ton of possessions and have the ball in his hands a lot, and Franz operates with the ball. Like, you don't need there's not a tremendous need for this,
So what you're going to do is you're not Jace is not going to see enough of the floor.
Potentially, you stunt his development and growth as a player.
That's what this is.
Which, if that's what we're doing, why do we bother to take that type of player
to begin with? Yeah. But that's essentially what's going to happen.
Didn't they basically do that with Jet Howard too? They took him and he just
Chet is a little different than this.
Again, with a player's development, you have to have opportunity to grow. And if you're not having the opportunity, if you're spending majority time in the G League, and when you're in the NBA with the main team, you're not playing, like, you're not developing.
Right.
That's a kind of a false narrative. I mean, you get better by being in situations and having to grow. And so that's my thing. If you're gonna focus on a young player, let him grow, create space for him to do that. Like, here's the thing, when you look at a couple years ago through a series of trades, the Celtics accumulated a bunch of first-round picks.
Yeah.
And they picked a bunch of guys through that window of time. The problem, and some of those guys maybe just were crap. I'll concede that. The problem you had that was those guys had nowhere to go. You had a contending deep playoff team for that entire window of time, and you had dudes that soak up tons of minutes. And we've talked here, I mean, until Tatum got hurt, Brown and Tatum were like always available and soaking up minutes, and they would have other Kyrie in and out of there, other guys that can really play. And it's just like there was no room for those young Celtic draftees to do anything. They were deep bench guys, G League guys. That's just a horrible nightmare to start your career.
You know where I agree with you on that is here because OKC is in that same situation where they have just a ton of draft picks. Even so, where they could have gotten this pick that Philly got this year, if the ball just drops a different way, right? And it's like, okay, what does OKC do with the number 3 pick in this draft? Like, what did they do with that, right? And next year they get our pick no matter what, pretty much, unless it's number 1, right? So if whatever injuries ravished again, and we get the number 2 pick, OKC is going to get that pick. What does OKC do with a number 2 pick? He's barely going to see the floor.
I agree with that, but I think if you're talking about a top 3, top 5 pick, there's a chance that guy might be good enough to force his way into something.
Right.
What's absolutely, but how much worse is it for a guy that's getting taken like 11 to 25?
Yeah.
It's way. I mean, like
but again,
the majority of those Celtics picks, in that window were falling in that mid area.
But OKC's in the same exact situation.
No, I agree with you.
They had 2 this year.
They have a bunch of picks.
Yeah.
Where the fuck do these players go? What opportunities?
They had a lottery pick last year that got hurt. Like now he's here now. Like what did they do with him?
Yeah.
With the lottery pick they had whatever from this year, or I think it was 13, so a little out of the lottery.
Yeah.
So you're saying like only the top 5 really count?
No,
that's not it.
No.
It's
team by
opportunity.
Team. Yeah.
Oh,
Like if you have a championship caliber team and you've got your 8-9 guys deep, and you draft a rookie who's not like a transcendent guy, like he doesn't have a chance to play there. Right. He's not going to grow. That same guy goes to a team that has a need for him. Maybe he starts as like the 8th man, and by the end of the year, he's getting a couple starts. That player's growing and developing. Right. So even if they both start here, the guy with opportunity is going to end up better in 24 months than the guy without opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you got to realize, I mean, all these dudes are like, they've been big time guys their whole life. Now they're not playing.
Right.
Like now they're.
Let me give you an example.
It's like college.
I'm gonna give you an example. Yabu was one of those guys from the Celtics. He was drafted by the Celtics in that same stretch of time.
Right. Okay.
And he didn't like he couldn't develop because he couldn't really get to see the floor. Yeah. So they say, oh well, he's not a good player, right? So and then the NBA says, okay, well he's not playing for Boston. We're not gonna give him a chance. He had to go back home.
Go back Europe.
And he went back to Europe and stayed for a while.
Yeah.
And I think
really only through the Olympics, I think he
that's what I think. I think the only reason why he got another chance in the NBA is because he did well in the Olympics, got the dunk on LeBron, and then Philly brings him in, and he played really well with Philly.
Yeah.
And now he's in New York, making some good money in New York.
No,
so,
it's 100% accurate with that. I really think that it's important where a player goes developmentally, and he's got to have an opportunity to perform.
Yeah.
Some guys will get the opportunity, and they're just not the guy. But
Things
but a lot of these guys, though, you go, and NBA teams don't practice that hard. It's a lot of shoot arounds.
Right.
Then they'll do it. The guys that aren't playing regularly, they'll do like some heavy work on game day, like maybe it's 3-on-3, maybe they're whatever. But I mean, like, you're kind of maybe getting better, if you're putting in work or whatever, but it's just not the same. You're not playing in NBA games. You're not doing the thing that you're there to do.
Yeah.
And so you're practicing a lot of other random stuff, but you're not getting those reps. And so that just simple development, but also the psyche of the player, the mindset when you're not doing anything meaningful and you're just, playing 3-on-3 on game day. And you get a couple minutes every 4 weeks.
What did you